Hello, I'm Jim Fisher. I've been doing reviews of shooting products for about 15 years now for SnipersHide and a number of other publications. This is my first video review ever, so hopefully that goes pretty well. I'm going to do it on the Garmin Xero C1 chronograph, which you see here before me, because that is the current review that I'm on. This is a chronograph that came out just about exactly a year ago, and I've been using it for that whole year. I want to talk first about its actual use because I think that's the thing you'll care about most. And it really redefines success in the world of chronographs in terms of its actual ability to read things. We should talk first about how it is that it works, because it is a Doppler radar chronograph, which is a kind of a new thing. Only a few of those have been released at this time. So the unit has a very large radar receiver and emitter right here. And it sends out radar pulses that then bounce off the projectile, and when they return to the unit then, it reads the shift in the actual frequency of that pulse, and that shift is how it determines the speed. This particular unit works differently than many other units that use a similar technology in that it has no triggering on a shot. So most units, when you fire a shot, the unit needs to then know that it's time to send out a radar pulse to actually do the reading. So it will have a microphone, or it will have like a little impulse meter that you have to stick to the side of your rifle to measure the recoil, and that's how it triggers. This particular unit, when it's in measurement mode, it actually measures all the time, and it can do that for a continuous 6 hours on the included battery, which is rather impressive. So it can't miss a shot in terms of triggering because it actually is running all the time. So it's constantly sending out radar pulses all the time, and so it sees your shots. It actually sees your neighbor's shots too, if you're wondering about that. It has plenty of range sideways for that. It actually does not have to be so incredibly well aligned that you need to, say, tape a straw to the top of it. I wouldn't know any units that people would tape straws to, but so it's got pretty wide range of ability to pick things up, but it actually is smart enough to see that the angle that those shots are going at from your neighbors is incorrect, so it doesn't actually record them. And in more than 1,000 rounds of testing that I've used this unit for, plenty of times when I had people sitting beside me, I actually have not had it miss a single one of my rifle shots, and I have not had it misrecord and put a single one of theirs into one of my shot strings, which is truly impressive. In that time, I've used .22 long rifle, 223, 350 Legend, 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, and 45-70, of which really only the .22 long rifle is difficult for chronographs. And if you followed chronographs a while, you would know that .22 long rifle actually can be very difficult for chronographs. Both magneto speeds and the first generation lab radar units both had problems picking up .22 long rifle pretty regularly, partially due to the fact that it does not have a sort of copper cladding on it, and so it doesn't seem to reflect as well, but also partially due to maybe the fact that the back of it is not actually flat. But they have difficulty picking it up. This unit has not had any difficulty with .22 long rifle, so that's been a positive thing. Some other reviewers have done some more esoteric calibers. For instance, Primal Rights did some videos where he actually shot some very unusual things, that like 17 caliber stuff at 5,000 feet per second. Those are pretty difficult to read, and these units picked those up, and of course the competitors sort of unsurprisingly failed at that. When I was shooting at one of the indoor ranges, I also inadvertently torture tested this unit, where I set it on those tiny little platforms that they always give you at an indoor range, and then proceeded to shoot my .22 handgun from way up here, which is not as near to the unit as you're supposed to be. And I did some rapid fire with .22 long rifle and gave it only 15 feet to pick up the projectile in. And believe it or not, the unit picked up almost all of the projectiles, which is pretty darn good given the very short amount of distance I gave the unit to work in. So very impressed with that, very impressed with its overall ability to pick up shots. And as far as accuracy of the readings go, none of the readings that I have seen struck me as particularly inaccurate. In fact, they all were just exactly what I would have expected, or in some cases weren't what I expected, and it turned out to be quite revealing in terms of what I learned about that particular box of ammunition or whatnot. I did try to test the accuracy of this against a higher grade laboratory unit. Lapua used to have a $10,000 unit at their indoor test facility. But when I went to schedule that test session, I found out that they had in fact replaced that unit with one of these, which was only about a month after these things were released. So pretty quickly they actually replaced their admittedly kind of cantankerous, very expensive laboratory grade unit with a simple $600 Garmin. So I think we will probably find that, given the reputation for Doppler radar units already in terms of their accuracy, I don't think we're going to see an accuracy problem with these. And certainly when it came to, I never saw any such problem. And in general, I found this to be a very good unit at the range, and it allowed me to take a lot of data I would not have otherwise been able to take, because my previous unit was so cantankerous to set up, and often in public range settings, I did not have the time to really fiddle with it and get it to work, because you don't have that amount of time downrange. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about the industrial design and some other choices about the unit that I'm not quite as happy with. We'll start with the unboxing and what you actually get when you buy such a unit. At the time of these writing, these are about $600 for these units. And yet, as you can see, they do not come with a whole lot for your money. You have this sort of perfunctory tripod, which works well enough off a bench, but has no adjustments whatsoever on it. So you can attach this to any 1/4-inch tripod. This is a standard stud on there, but it would be nice if you had a better tripod included. The charging cable, of course, comes with no transformer block. Thank you, Apple, for setting the precedent on that one. And as you can see, unlike this $40 Teslon borescope, which came with a nice zippered molded case, the Garmin comes with no case whatsoever, despite its price point. Now, in terms of the unit's actual design, it has a pretty simple black and white screen on the back, which I actually think is quite excellent for the product, in that it has a sort of an e-ink quality, and in direct, bright, glaring sunlight, it is actually pretty good at not washing out, not glaring. It actually looks great. Indoor, it looks fine because it has a backlighting, though it does oftentimes like to turn that backlighting off. So sometimes you have to wake it up if you want to read what something said if it's in a dark setting. But still, I think the screen was a good choice. Buttons are, there's only 4 of them. They're hard plastic, so I don't think they're going to turn into jelly and disintegrate in 10 years like buttons sometimes do, but they navigate the internal menu system very well. I like the way the menu system is laid out. It stores 50 strings of shots in the onboard memory, and it labels them mostly according to the date and time, which it automatically records. Later on in the application, which we'll talk about later, you can label them differently if you'd like. And the unit also has the USB-C for both charging and if you end up having to update the firmware on the unit with the PC application. You will note there is no battery door anywhere on this. As you might imagine, that means there's an internal lithium-ion rechargeable battery. I would like to note that this battery, which is the same chemistry as the battery they're using, and thus the same voltage, had they used one of these, you would have been able to remove the battery and replace it. This is an 18650, which is used standard in a lot of the equipment that we use within the industry. For instance, these Vectronics Vector X laser range-finding binoculars and this very nice headlamp all use that standard 18650 battery, which would have been an excellent choice because, as you can see, it fits very well. Their chosen battery, when eventually you need to replace it, because no batteries last forever, and few of them last longer than 5 years. One of the guys on SnipersHide was good enough to actually take one of these apart so we could see. You actually have to take all these screws off, pop it apart. There's a gasket in there. The battery is actually essentially glued either on or around the back LCD screen. So it's going to be a little tricky to remove it. However, it does appear to be a fairly standard battery size. So it should be that you can actually remove it if you're careful enough. And those cost around $25 for that standard size, assuming the standard is still around by the time you actually need to change this. Now let's talk a little bit about the application itself. The application for your smartphone requires you to set up a Garmin account in order to use it. It's called ShotView, the application. The Garmin account is for the cloud storage that it provides. You do not have to use the cloud storage. You do have to set up the account. When you install the application, you on that application can change the name of strings, and you can add notes to strings, which allows you to very well record your actual data in a meaningful way so that you will not forget what you were talking about and forget what you shot. The application also doesn't have the string limitation of only 50 strings. So you can store your data if you want to store your data permanently in the application. It will interface with the Garmin to directly pick up shots during a string, or you can interface it afterwards and it will pull data from the Garmin unit, though it's a little buggy, I'll be honest. It doesn't pull every string. It likes to pull only about 3 strings at a time each time you connect it to the unit, which is a little annoying. It also, mine was unable to update the firmware of this Garmin unit, even though it is supposed to automatically do that. I had to do that using the Garmin company-wide PC application, Garmin Express. And I also found the ShotView application to crash on a pretty regular basis, which was not too impressive. Another feature of the ShotView application I should note is that you can send from the ShotView application data to your computer in comma-separated value format, which is fantastic if you want to keep permanent records and don't particularly want to be tied to an application given the history of smartphone applications and their longevity relative to the data we're trying to take. Speaking of longevity, warranty on this is actually only 1 year. So believe it or not, I'm doing a review on this unit that I've been using for the last year, and it's no longer under warranty. Which, yeah, so the warranty didn't last as long as the review cycle. Not real impressive on that one. So I guess the way I would summarize the Garmin ShotView or the Garmin C10 chronograph is that in terms of its function and its technology, this is a sort of a quantum leap over what we've previously had. It's utterly fantastic at reading shots, and I think as a result, it's been very popular. In terms of industrial design and accessories and price and design choices, obviously there's a lot of improvement that could be made in competing products. You could have a removable battery, for instance. You could include a nice case, and you could just not be $600. But certainly in terms of function, everything in the future is going to be compared to this, because its ability to read shots that it's supposed to and not accidentally read shots it's not supposed to is pretty unparalleled. Thank you for your time. I hope you found this review useful, and I hope to see you on another one in the future. Thank you.